Welcome to the Sales Navigator Live Show with Stan and Bryn. Join LinkedIn expert and sales professional Bryn Tillman and me, Stan Robinson Jr., Chief Coaching Officer here at Social Sales Link, as we bring you the best tips and strategies for leveraging Sales Navigator for your sales success. Enjoy the show. Welcome to today's Sales Navigator Insights event. Today, as you can tell, we do not have Bryn Tillman with us, although we have a very close associate of hers, longtime associate, Bob Woods, who's a colleague of both Bryn and I here at Social Sales Link. And Bob is our CMO, LinkedIn strategist, LinkedIn profile expert. So I'm delighted, Bob, to have you with us today. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Stan. I really appreciate it. And, I don't have the flowing red hair. So hopefully people could deal with literally the polar opposite of that and learn hopefully some very important things when it comes to Sales Navigator and especially how the profile can really help people who use Sales Nav.
Yes, exactly. We do pride ourselves on variety here at Social Sales Link. So you can be assured of that.
Absolutely.
So I know that we always talk about Sales Navigator insights and how you can use Sales Navigator to, find the right people, start trust-based conversations, and so forth. However, whenever you engage with someone on Sales Navigator, they are going to wind up looking at your LinkedIn profile. And sometimes even before you engage with them, your LinkedIn profile will be the first thing that they see after they hear about you or whatever the context may be. So I wanted to take some time to talk about how to make sure that your LinkedIn profile, which is kind of your digital front door on LinkedIn, is structured in such a way that you position yourself as a resource for your audience. And that's why I'm excited about having Bob here with us to talk about that. So we're going to dive into 7 tips on structuring your LinkedIn profile to make sure that it is working for you. Because the wonderful thing is your LinkedIn profile is a representation of you and your brand that's open 24/7, 365. So Bob, I'm gonna let you start. I know we talked about 7 tips. If you want to talk about your general philosophy as far as the profile, and then we can dive into the 7 tips.
Yeah, that sounds great, Stan. So, I think probably if there's nothing else people take away from this, and hopefully people will take a lot away from this, but hopefully people will just keep one thing in mind when it comes to what we do as salespeople on LinkedIn. Your profile is not a resume, okay? It's really not about you. It's about them. And with them being what I call your audience. So, because I come from broadcast journalism, we're always concerned about audience. But even in broadcast journalism, we had specific characteristics of the people who we were targeting. Guess what? That is the same thing as who your ideal client profile is. It's basically the exact same thing. We would look at things in a little bit of a broader sense in terms of demographics and things like that. People who are using Sales Navigator should obviously know already, especially because of what Stan teaches here when it comes to using the filters to find exactly who you're looking for. Bring all of that over into the profile because it is about them, about the people who come to your profile because of all of the efforts you're doing on LinkedIn and Sales Navigator. So you're targeting these people. How are you doing it though? You're making your profile value centric, make it of value to your audience of prospects. And how you do that? You educate them. You get them thinking a little differently about their solution or to their problem, actually. And hopefully, they will then see the value of not only speaking with you with that initial sales conversation, but hopefully, eventually, as you take them through the process, they're seeing you and your solution as to the problem to the solution that their problem needs essentially. So
Mhm.
it has to be constructed in a way that's most definitely not a resume because people don't care if if you've won the president's award and you exceeded quota and you're an expert at or I'm sorry, you're an expert at Microsoft Excel and PowerPoint and all that stuff. People who are looking to you to help solve their problem, they don't care about that stuff. They want to know that you know what you're talking about and that you have the potential solution to their problem.
Yep, exactly, and it's interesting because I always use this, and I realize, Bob, you come from a broadcasting background. Um, I always say that people are only interested in one thing. We all listen to the same radio station, which is WIIFM,
I love it.
and
That's great.
people on the call always there's always a few that know that that radio station, WIIFM, stands for What's in It for Me. And that's what your profile viewers want to find out. And the thing about the internet is that your competitors are just a click away. So if they don't see something of interest that grabs their attention as far as how you can help them, how you can answer that what's in it for me question, they're gone. And as Bob mentioned, the President's Club, quota crushing sales professional, that is not going to help them make that decision. So, Bob, do you want to dive into the first of the 7 tips? Say someone's got their profile, they say, okay, where do I start?
Yeah, so you start at the tippy top with the banner. So many people out there either have a banner that is that has nothing to do with what they do for a living in terms of what they sell, or they have the dreaded gray blob up there and it doesn't show anything. As look, you have to use that valuable real estate space and it's got to be eye-catching and it's got to communicate your brand's message. Um, so it's got to show at least you and your company. And to be honest, there are so many different effective ways to do this. It's impossible to boil it down into a formula. And there's so many things that people sell and everything else. I mean, you can't really convey, especially through a brief soundbite in a podcast, exactly what it should be. But overall, as I said, it needs to convey your brand's message, and the easiest way to do that is one of two ways. One, especially if you're like a solopreneur or you're a part of a small if you're a part of a small company or something like that, you maybe show yourself in an action shot or something like that in front of people, or if you're giving a presentation, if you're in a crowd or something like that, that's always effective. Or, the easiest thing that I suggest that people do is to click around LinkedIn, see what other people in your industry are doing with their banners and get some ideas from those to put together your own. Now, if you're working for a big company, they may already have banners ready for you. And that's great because those are going to be focused on the brand. Those are going to be focused on the brand language. They'll have all of the corporate colors in there already. So that's great. If you're in a medium or small size company, though, they may not have that. So that's when you
Mhm.
may want to do that clicking around a little bit more. But overall, though, you really need to convey that brand message. So that probably does mean using the corporate logo, keeping to the corporate colors as much as possible and things like that. So, whether you're showing your products, if you could show your products, if it's a service-based thing, show your services a little bit there somehow. Like I said, it's mind-boggling how many different ways that it can be done. But overall, just make absolutely sure that something is up there. And there's something else that I would like to add too. You don't necessarily think of the LinkedIn banner on your profile as something that just needs to stay static and you never do anything with it. If
Mhm.
you have an event that's coming up, promote it in the banner. If you have a new product that's launching, promote it in the banner. You can actually swap in and out images. I mean, there's no limit as to how many times you can do that. I know that some people actually keep it dynamic all the time because there's always new stuff that they have coming up, whether it's a presentation, whether it's they're going to be attending a conference, whether it's a live event, whether there are new products that are staged to roll out throughout the year. I mean, really start thinking more along those lines rather than just putting something up and saying, oh God, that's done. Bob told me to do it and I did it. I'm never going to think about it again. You can't be like that. You really need to make that area as dynamic as you can. Now, if you can't, you can't, and that's fine. But, if nothing else, make sure that you're conveying your brand's message. And, if you're only selling one thing within that brand, then that's fine. If you've got a whole suite of things, like I said, the easiest thing to do is to click around and see what other people are doing, get inspiration, and then either design it yourself or go to a Fiverr or something like that if you're small and have someone who is a professional do it for you there.
Great. Yep, so great nuggets, and I appreciate your mentioning you can change out the banner because a lot of people just set it and forget it, and it's a huge missed opportunity. For people who are creatively challenged like me, some of the good news these days is generative AI will make processes
That is
like
true.
this easier. There'll come a time when you can literally just talk to generative AI and it will create exactly what you tell it to do. So thank you for
Excellent point.
that one, Bob. Yes. And so that's first. You've got your banner, which is the biggest piece of real estate on your profile above the fold there. What would come next?
Next is what's right up there with the profile, and that's your photo. And so many people sleep on the photo. They don't do it right. They don't really put a lot of thought into it, and that's really a shame because I think these are the latest numbers. They keep going up. That's all I know. But members who have a photo on their profile get 21 times more profile views than someone without, and they also get 9 times more connection requests. Now, those aren't percentages.
Oh,
We're talking 21 times and 9 times, not 21% and 9%, because that
wow.
wouldn't be great. It's absolutely huge, the photo. So, couple things that you need to do. One, it needs to be as current as it can be. So, I'm going to take myself for an example. I've recently lost a lot of weight and that's throwing a lot of wrenches into things around here at social sales link. But one of the first things that I needed to do was to get an updated profile photo because I don't look like the person that I used to look like. And I used to have hair and stuff like that. If you're watching me right now, you can see that I obviously don't have hair anymore. I made the joke up top. You have to make it look current. And the easiest way to do that is to get a current photo up there. So, with that in mind, what you need to do is make it look like what you would look like on either a normal day or if you're in a client facing situation.
Mm,
So, if you're like me and Stan, we're always in quarter zips in the winter or, like regular dress shirts in the summer. That's fine to go with. Don't put yourself into a three-piece suit for your profile photo if that's not what you look like during the day. Now, if you wear a
mhm.
three-piece suit during a normal day, then 100% do that. So, make sure that it looks like what you look like on a normal day and make sure that it's current. The one other thing that you need to do is you need to actually zoom in on it, not
Mm,
like totally. If it's like, top of the chest and your face, that's fine, but you can't have a really a zoomed out picture of yourself, and there's a strategic reason for that. So when you see your photo on the LinkedIn profile, that is the largest that you are ever going to see it on LinkedIn. It gets sized down like 4 or 5 different ways, but the size of it always decreases. So you have to make sure that your face is prominent within that photo. Otherwise, if people see your headline and stuff like that, and we're going to get to headlines in a second, but if they see it there and your face is like so small they can't tell who you are or what you look like, you might as well just not have a photo up there at that point.
yep. Great points, because people will put on nice outfits and they'll pose and it'll be from the waist up, but you can't see their face.
Yep.
And it's so easy to forget that.
Yep.
Um, Bob, I know that I suggest that people not use selfies because you can tell when they're taking a selfie, and I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many profiles I see of pictures of with folks who've taken a selfie in the car. And
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's the any feelings one way or the other that you have about that? I know I'm kinda old
Yeah,
school.
neutral backgrounds are definitely the best. The selfie style doesn't work because you can always tell when someone has their arm out and taking a picture. Just find someone, if absolutely nothing else, to take your picture in a pretty well lit area. If you can stand a little bit farther in front of your background, that's great because that means that you won't be casting shadows on your background. But at least just have someone else take your photo. It doesn't have to be professionally taken. If you can get it professionally taken, obviously that's great and do that. You don't have to do that, but you do need to do some things to make it look professional at least.
Yes. Yep, thanks. Okay. Then I don't feel so bad now for telling people, "Please
Absolutely not.
switch the selfie out.
Absolutely not.
Grab somebody off the street and have them take the photo if you need to."
Yeah,
Okay.
just make sure you get your phone back when
Yeah,
you
yeah, small detail. Ah, yes. So, great. So we've talked about the banner, then the photo, because people will be looking for your photo. They expect to see that there. And what's next?
Next is gonna be the headline, so that's immediately below the photo. Most everyone probably knows what that is. Most people usually put account executive at Acme Widgets or whatever. That's bad because it doesn't communicate who you help, how you help them, the services you provide, and the results that you bring, which are the 4 elements that any good headline should have. Not only that, but if people see account executive, they're gonna think, "Oh god, salesperson, run away." You absolutely don't want that. You want people to be curious enough based on what's in your headline to keep reading and feel connected with you enough to keep reading. And also so that they know that you are potentially a person who could help them with their problem. So that's why you need the 4 elements that I mentioned in there, or as many of the elements in there as possible that you could fit in there. Now, the headline is another area where, we do have kind of a bit of a formula in terms of putting, what you need in there. But because everyone is so different out there, that formula can be applied in so many different ways. The easiest thing that I would suggest for you to do would be to look at, Stan's headline, my headline, Bob Woods, Bryn Tillman's headline. We really, because obviously we teach the stuff, we know how to construct a headline. And when you read our headlines, that's how yours should be in a general sense, while keeping with those 4 elements: who you help, how you help them, the services you provide, and the results that you bring to people.
Great. Yep. And they have, is it 220 characters? Yes,
220
they do.
characters. That's up from the old 120, thank God.
Yeah,
But
yes.
you do have 220 characters and spaces. So you need to put all of those elements, or at least as many of them as you can, within that 220 characters.
Great. Okay. Good deal. So we've talked about things people see above the fold, and I think we may have one or two still above the fold, but what comes next just in terms of the list?
Yeah, so in terms of like importance more than anything else is the next one in terms of importance is probably going to be your about section. So this is where you really start providing information to your audience of prospects that you are the person who can solve their problem, but you're not doing it in a salesy way. And you do that by instead of talking about what you do, hi, I'm the person who can do this. I'm the person who can do that. You don't at least start off the about section like that. You teach them rather than saying, everything that I just said, essentially. You do that by first in the first paragraph or two, identifying who you are, who your audience is, and then also kind of identifying their pain. So, if you're a financial professional and you're looking specifically for medical professionals, you may want to say, and here's where I start getting myself in trouble a little bit because I'm coming off the top of my head here, but medical professionals in today's world are having all kinds of problems. Oh God, I'm already
Could
screwing
be
this
with
up, but
insurance.
you're
Yes.
identifying their situation. You're also identifying who they are so that they know that they are in the place where they need to be. So a medical professional's problem is probably they don't have enough time to do financial strategizing for themselves and their families while running a very or being a part of a very very busy medical practice, and they're all busy nowadays. So you identify that in the first couple paragraphs, then you can get into a little bit of education. So in the example that I just cited, you can start educate them just a little bit about the things that they should be thinking about when they are going through this process of going, oh my God, this is a problem. How do I deal with this? The education points that you bring up should start at least solidifying a little bit in their mind what you can do for them because you're bringing them this education. You're offering this stuff for free. So as you're doing this and as you're, hopefully forming some thoughts in their minds about what they should be doing, you're also letting them know that, hey, I can help you because I'm the person who's telling you which directions that you should probably be going in. Underneath that is then at that point, you can start saying, I'm the person who can help, but you're not going to do it in a salesy way. So you can start proving just a little bit about what you do down there specifically. And again, this is where Brinstan um, and mine's profiles can come in because we've got ours structured in this way. So if you want to look at my profile, underneath that educational section, I detail without being salesy exactly how it is we help. And then you would close with a call to action that says something along the lines of if you're considering and going back to the financial professional example, if you're considering speaking with someone about your situation, I invite you to have a conversation. Whether or not we decide to work together, I'm sure our conversation will bring you value. And then you provide your contact information down there. It's even better if you have a Calendly scheduling link that they could just schedule directly from the profile.
Great, great. So, yeah, one thing that many of you may not have heard is including your contact information there in the bottom of the about section, because
Yep.
some people will say, well, there's the contact tab right at the top of the profile, and why put it in there twice? And I usually say because people are lazy,
Yeah.
and many people don't just totally overlook that contact info.
Exactly. Exactly. I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many profiles that I've done where people go, when we work a little bit on that tab and they're like, "Oh my god, I didn't even know that existed." Guess what? So many people don't know it exists even though it's there. That's why you have to make sure that it's in front of them.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. Um, and for those of you who perhaps don't like to write, and the idea of writing an about section um, is less than attractive. let's just put it nicely. You may be thinking, well, can I use Chat GPT for this? And the answer is yes. But Bob, would you add some caveats to that? Some people may be, already thinking about,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I
Yeah,
cannot
so
use it.
ChatGPT does work. Unfortunately, one of the things that I've discovered in using it, because there are times when I will use it as, like, just the start of something. If I'm coming up if I'm having problems with coming up with something, I will use it as the start of things, and then I will go and improve it and make sure that it's in my voice and things like that. ChatGPT tends to sound the same across no matter what profession that you put in and things like that with it. So
Mhm.
if you are going to use ChatGPT, the one thing you can do is to read the output of it out loud. Read it to yourself out loud, however you want to do it. But if it starts sounding like it's Chat GPT to you as you're reading it, it's going to sound like Chat GPT to everyone else. Make sure that it's put in your voice, and you may need to alter it significantly coming out of Chat GPT so that it sounds like this is you rather than Chat GPT.
Yeah, great, great. Thank you. So I'm going to move on because I want to be respectful of your time, Bob. And with these
Oh,
discussions,
wow.
the time it goes in a heartbeat.
Yes.
Yep. So what would come next on your list?
Yeah, so next is gonna be the featured section. So the featured section is a very graphical section that you can use, and because it's so graphical, we call it the scroll stopper, because as people are scrolling down, they're gonna see text, and they're gonna see a little more text, and then they're gonna see this feature section that has graphics in it, and that's gonna make people stop and wonder, I wonder what's going on here."
Mhm.
So in the featured section, you should have educational material and material that builds up your thought leadership to reinforce the fact that you are the go-to person in your industry for these types for whatever problem that they're facing. So with the educational part, it should be ideally posts that you've already shared. If it's not a post, then maybe it links out to a website of yours that has this information in it. I wouldn't necessarily post like a reshare of an article that goes out, because if
Mhm.
you post that and they click on the article, you've then lost them because they are now out to an article and they can go, God knows wherever at that point. You really want to have something there that is either a post or goes to your website or goes to the company's website or whatever. So at least that thread in their mind is still there about it. The other big thing that you want to do is make sure that it's current. I use the analogy of a produce section. So produce section, it's a value because there's stuff in there that you want to buy. But if the stuff starts getting old, guess what? You're
Mhm.
not going to want to buy anything from that produce section. It's the same thing with the featured section, especially because if you are in an industry that's dynamic, like Stan and I are in, stuff gets old really quick. So you want to make sure that the content that you have in there is current, and of course that it's educational and builds your brand as a thought leader in whatever industry that you're in.
Great. Good deal. Good deal. Um, and Bob, I'm going to let you run with the last. I think there are two more that we've
Yeah, there are
got.
two more.
Yep.
So the next one we're going to talk about is the experience section. So this is where you get to tell your story. This is where you can start using I and me and things like that. But you're not going to be salesy. What you're going to talk about is, what value do you bring to your clients? How do you make a difference in their lives, in their professional lives? If you have a compelling personal story about why you are in the business that you're in, go ahead and use that. One of our big clients is a financial professional services firm. Some of the people who are out there who are out there providing services in insurance, in securities and things like that, they have very compelling personal stories about why they're doing what they're doing to help other
Mhm.
people. In those cases, we absolutely put those in the experience section because they're really compelling. I mean, I've done some where it's like, wow, I had no idea. People don't have any idea. And so you kind of need to tell them why you're doing what you're doing, unless you're just doing it for a job, which is fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you may not want to say that in the experience section. But if you've got a great story about why you're doing what you're doing, you definitely want to put that in there. Two other quick things. One is what we call the experience hack, and we put hack in very, very heavy air quotes because you're not hacking anything. You can go to my profile to see what that is like, but you're using the functionality that most people use to show their progression within a company. You're using that instead to show either specific products that you sell or services that you sell, or even if you sell one product to different industry verticals, you can highlight the industry verticals that you sell to as well.
Ah, great.
Yeah. The other quick thing is everybody asks about previous experience. What do I do about previous experience? There's one of two things. One, if you work for a direct competitor, obviously have it in there, but don't put
Mm.
anything in the in the sections where you would put your story in your main experience section. If you have other experience in other companies that aren't competitors or even different industries, you can spin those up. So, how did the job that you were in before help you now?
Mm.
Everything should lead up to what you're doing now, or as much as you can, because there's sometimes when it just doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. There's nothing you can do about it. But sometimes, and again, take financial services for example. If someone's coming from a restaurant background, there's a lot of client interaction involved there. There's a lot of cases where people have helped people in restaurants with whatever. You could spin that up to show how that experience in the past is helping you today. If you have those opportunities in your past, absolutely use them.
Fantastic. Great. Well, Bob, I want to thank you so much. This has been awesome. Lots of takeaways, lots of great nuggets. So, this is one of those recordings that you'll want to go back and listen to again for our audience.
And
Now,
again, and
yep,
again.
exactly.
Sorry, I had to say that.
And if you'd like to take advantage of some free resources, you can go to socialsaleslink.com/library for a comprehensive library of resources on social selling that you can take advantage of. So, with that, we're going to sign off. Thanks for listening. Thank you again, Bob.
I appreciate being here, Stan. Thanks so much for the invite.
All right, everyone, have a great day.
Thanks. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening. And join us again for more insights on Sales Navigator and social selling strategies that will differentiate you from your competitors and accelerate your sales success. In the meantime, you can go to socialsaleslink.com/library for free content on LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, and social selling.